guess what those time tests do to our poor little kids?
It tears them up. It tears me
It
up.
does. It tears me up too. It tears me up, makes me angry. It says time tests are the beginning of math anxiety for about 1/3 of students. That's sad. And it happens all the time.
For many of them, it makes them not want to actually do the math.
Yeah, for many of them, that's why they think they're not good at math. They think they can't do it because they can't do this right here because the anxiety sets in and then they shut down. When it's timed, no, that anxiety sets in.
And for those kids who have dyslexia, you know, time test is just horrible for them because they're flipping things. They don't have time to concentrate on it. So what maybe a 6 looks like a 9, so therefore they're getting it wrong.
Yes, absolutely. And then, of course, time tests push the brain into survival mode, which often produces the least efficient ways to think about math. We're just trying to get through. We forget half of what we have learned, half the strategies and half the thinking that we could put into it if we had time. So, last, we assess the fluency. We assess by strategy. Talk to them about what's going on. When I assessed my kids, the assessment was an interview. I sat with them and we did these activities, and that's how I assessed them, if they were ready to move on. And I knew if their response was quick enough for me, and I could see, you could tell by the look in their eyes if they're ready. So it doesn't have to be a paper pencil time thing. Occasional assessments are okay for diagnostic purposes. And, you know, I know there's a place for it and a time and a place, but consider eliminating the time. And I know we have to get them used to it. I know it's a danged if you do and danged if you don't. Allow students to own their assessments and mastery. Now, this was something I did a lot with my kids when we did do something and I didn't time them. I didn't time them per se, time them. What I would do is I would give them a fact sheet when I would have to do that because we had to do it. We were ready to do it. I would give them one, and I would set an amount of time, and we would do it maybe for 10 minutes. And then what they were to do, then what I would do whenever they would turn it in to me is I would put how many they got correct. Not how many they got wrong, not a percentage, but how many they got correct. And that's what I kept record of. And then the next time we do same types of problems, and I'd keep record of how many they got correct. And we'd talk about how I was looking for that number to increase. It was the same amount of time, but I wanted them to get more of them correct. It wasn't about getting done first. It wasn't about how fast you can do it. It's let's improve our number that we get correct during that amount of time. And the kids it helped with anxiety some, with the ones who really stressed over it. And then it says grade for mastery by strategy, future, in progress, mastered, those types of things. Not put a percentage on it, because no one wants to see that. There's no point in it. We're looking to see where they're going. We're not looking to put a label on them, a grade. And then, of course, instead of time tests or drills, try using interviews. Like I said, that's what I would do. Observations, just observe them while they're working. Through journaling, and then, of course, through mini quizzes that aren't necessarily timed. Any thoughts on that?
I really like having the conversation with them about not how many they got wrong, but how many they got right. And even using that, being very intentional with the language that you use so that you do show them the growth mindset that they're going to get better. And just because they only got 3 today, we know with hard work tomorrow that number is going to go higher.
Sure. It's about, go ahead.
No, that was it.
It's about, it's about being positive. We talk about behavior with PBIS, being positive. Well, you apply the same principle to this. Let's be positive about what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. Let's talk about all the good. Let's put it that way. Take away all the negative. as much as we possibly can, take it away. But yes, you are right, Sabrina. That's the key to it, is letting them know that you know that they can do it. And eventually they will believe it.
And with what you said with the interviewing, that also gives the students, I mean, that gives you your kind of data to see where you need to go next with instruction and your progress monitoring, without having to just sit down with a paper and say, okay, answer all these,
Absolutely.
as many of these as you get right.
Absolutely. Every day when I was working with my math intervention students, every day I progress monitored. Every day I made notes of what my kids were doing. And it wasn't necessarily because I had to, because my program, the grant didn't require me to do it, but I needed that information for myself so I could plan for the next day. I needed to know, are we ready to move on, or do I need to try something different because this is not working for this child? So the monitoring wasn't mandated for me, but I did it because I needed it. I needed to know what direction to go with these kids. I had, at one point, I had over 30 kids. I couldn't remember all of that. I had to write it down. And so I had to make plans. So every time, after every group, that's what I sat down and did. I looked at what I had, my notes that I had taken on my kids, and I planned for the next day for each child. What number do they need to move on to? What activity do they need to do tomorrow? So you're right. It drives our teaching. The monitoring does. And the feedback we get from our kids.